So January was a really like slow reading month for me. However, I still ended up reading really, really good books, and we're here to talk about it. So welcome back to my channel, and this is the January reading wrap up. So the first one, I'm reading it off my phone, is Babylonia by Constanza Kazati. And you have to imagine, it's the first book in the year and it came out with a bang. I really enjoyed the book. I gave the book 4.75, but honestly, it could be a 5-star read for me. So we're following our main protagonist who obviously doesn't have the easiest of life per se. She's born into like rather abandoned, and so in order to make sure, because she from a very very young age knew that she was going to be someone great, and she ends up becoming the first and only Samaratian queen to ever rule for a short time. And there is so much in this book that was going on: deception, lies, animals, like also like a weird ass like relationship between these two brothers. And there's honestly, to me personally, the book you should definitely go into it completely blind, but I generally adored the book, to be fair. And it was a 4.75 for me. I definitely recommend that one, and I can't wait to see what the author does for the next book. Then I read this other one. This was my first physical book of the year. Was The Lies of the Ajungo by Moses Ose Otomi. And so we're basically found our main protagonist Tutu, and because of like his mother is basically dying from dehydration, he ends up going to the Oba, who is the king of the desert place that he is based on like a bit of like Yoruba mythology as well. He tells them that he wants to go into the desert and basically find water for the tribe and save his city. And when he's going through that journey, he obviously learns a lot more about himself and also meets a lot of interesting people along the way. Bear in mind, Tutu is like what, 13, and he also has to flee because they cut off your tongue after you turn 13 because of the Anjungo, and there's so much more within the story. It was a really short novella, and I genuinely enjoyed this one, to be fair. I gave this one 4 stars. And yeah, that was one thing. After that, I then read This Is How You Lose a Time War by Amal El Morta. And so, honestly, this book, because I was seeing this all over like in different places, and I've known this book for been out for a while. However, I didn't really think that, oh, you know what, maybe I'll try the book out. But surprised to say, we're basically found these two main protagonists. You never actually really know their names. One goes by the alias of Red, and the other one is Blue. And so there is like a time war going on because of like the two factions are trying to make sure that their reality, because they're in the present, they wanted to end up becoming the reality that dominates. So they go back in time, and both the agents, Blue and Red, essentially have like this type of rivalry that goes from like enemies to reluctant strangers, all the way to like longing pen pal. It was very very like poetic, and also like the longing both of them have for one another. Bear in mind, they never actually freaking meet, which I was just like, you guys are just like, this is like just pining. And I was just like, okay, cool. I'm usually not a person that likes pining so much, but like it was still good regardless. I gave it 3.25. I know that seems like a very low rating for me, but like it was actually really good, and also sci-fi, and I never really gravitate towards sci-fi, so that was interesting. The next one I ended up reading was Lucy Undying by Christine White. I gave that one 3.25 stars. So essentially, it is sapphic. It is based on like based loosely, and it's also like a retelling of one of Lucifer's brides, Lucy. And so we're following our main protagonist, who is a descendant from Lucy's governess, and Lucy herself as basically showing that she was like this young heiress that didn't know any better, was in love with her governess, but you could clearly tell the governess was using her, so it was kind of a toxic relationship. And then there's also Dracula, who is a narcissistic, I would swear, but I don't know if I'm gonna get flagged. But you get what I'm trying to say. But it was still really, really good. So I definitely still recommend that one, to be fair. I gave it 3.25. Then I read one of like this one book that I've been seeing for a while. However, I wasn't sure if I wanted to read it. It's Blood Over Bright Haven by ML Wong. And oh boy, I gave it 4.5. It was really good. So we're basically following two main protagonists, and one of them is obviously fleeing with his family because of the blight is basically wiping people out. It's like this one, it's apparently a natural phenomenon that basically just kills people. And then there's this other woman who ends up becoming the first woman to be admitted to become like a mage within like this like globe thing that protects them from the blight. And it's also takes into question the human condition, also seeing that even the most sweetest and nicest of people can become vicious and petty, all in order to like self-preservation and to make sure that, oh, they are suffering, but do I care? that is basically the like entire, but also like our main protagonist also understanding like her privileges, and also understanding that a lot of the things and those like, well, how would you say this, the ideology and everything was all like falsified, and also like you should basically second guess things before it goes absolutely out of hand. Then I then read the second book, so The Truth of the Alike by Moses Ose Otomi. And so in this book, we are following, it's based on this one, but it's like 500 years later. And so our main protagonist is like, what was his name? Osi. And so Osi has like this like savior type of, it's not necessarily savior complex per se, but he has like this very strong sense of justice, to the point that where he's quite like stupid in a way, because like, you know, those characters that they automatically assume that they are doing the right thing, all the things they're doing the right thing, they mean well, even though most times they're not. Them doing the right thing often like hurts people along the process, but like, I mean, they're trying, if that is good, is something to say. But however, this book also made me reminisce on the fact that it is always the victors that are able to tell the truth of the stories, and the losers are basically swept in time, because the how like things are so different here within this book and this one. It is a 500 years gap. I mean, it makes sense, 500 years has passed, so a lot of things happen. But like, whereas in the other book where it's Tutu that is being trying to like justice, and he's also very very like young, this one is like, Ose is like 16 years old, also has a strong sense of justice, but he ends up becoming a pawn in a woven scheme, which inevitably leads to like the demise of everything. I ended up giving this one about 3-ish stars per se. Then the next book I ended up reading, and it was the last book I read, was Adrift, a current in current Clean and Clear by Seanan Maguire. I enjoyed this book, to be fair. This is the 10th book within the Wayward Children series. I gave it 4 stars. So we're basically following one of like the antagonists of like the other story. Her name is Nadia. And so Nadia, from the get-go of the book, we basically are witnessing that this 60-year-old girl, Nadia's mother, gives birth to Nadia and basically hands her over, and we never hear from her again. She's gone from the picture. And because of this, because of like when Nadia is born, she's born, it's not necessarily like a problem for Nadia. Nadia never had an issue with this, just that she doesn't have one of her arms, like it just never grew in. So I mean, it is what it is. So she was walking around with a stump. And so Nadia has like this strong sense of like, she wants to become one of like the ladies there to like take care of the kids. She doesn't even want to get adopted, but she ends up getting adopted by these American missionaries. And so things go absolutely haywire from there, because of like the family that obviously like Nadia is now staying with. The dad is more like understanding, wants to get to know Nadia, and Nadia also has like this propensity to love like tortoises, like, and whereas Nadia's like adoptive mother has like this type of sense that Nadia is supposed to be like this prim and proper little girl, trying to like beat her culture and language out of her, because Nadia speaks Russian. And so one day Nadia ends up seeing this door, it says be sure, and she goes in, where she ends up in the, how do you say, underwater world. Like it's kind of like a lake situation with, and tortoises, her favorite animals, end up being like the main source of transportation, and things go from there. But however, compared to all of Seanan Maguire's other books within the series, I felt like this one cut off really very quickly. Like it was like kind of bittersweet in a way. And yeah, I don't know if this is gonna be the last book within the series, but it can be, because like Nadia's story was not finished. I need more. You get me? But I do recommend the series, to be fair. They're like really really short novellas per se, like around 110 to 150, so you get through them very quickly. And now, because I am doing other things this month in February, but I do want to try and make sure that I get through all of my reading goals per se. So these are some of the books that I do plan on physically reading this month per se. So I do plan on reading these ones. Whether or not I'm going to actually get to most of them is another story to be told. I mean, you're seeing a pattern here. It's not that, like, it's not anything new. So the first one is I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harper. I started this last month. I didn't really finish it because I feel like at the same time, this is definitely going to be like a book that is makes a lot more meaning, and is also based on like these 39 women who live in like an imprisoned place, and a lot more is going on. And our main protagonist, so far I don't even know what her name is, but it's so interesting. So there's this one. Another one that I'm just reading right now is the Cybernetic Tea Shop, and it is sapphic. Could it be sapphic if one of them is a robot? I mean, it is. I think. But it's cozy, it's very short. I hope to finish this maybe even today. Then I'm trying to reread Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies, the first and the second one, because the next one is coming out literally next week. I think it's the fifth that when I'm filming this, so I do need to get to these. Then another reread is Lie With Me by Philippa Benson, and I really just enjoyed this book last year, and I just want to reread it itself. Then there is Notes of a Crocodile. This one is found family, queer, a group of misfits, and it's Chinese, I think. No, it's in Taipei. I know that sounds so stupid right now, but like I really do want to read this book. Plus the cover looks nice. Then there's also this one. This is like the only German book I'll be reading this month. I do hope to read it. Is Das Grüne Klavier. I know this is based in Köln. I used to live in Köln when I was like, 10? So, it's reminiscent, I guess. And then there's also A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. All I know that this is vampires. It is also sapphic or queer and polyamorous. I don't know. There's a lot going on. And people say that this is like very like gothic and nice. So you had me sold as sapphic. So then the last one is because of like, so far I've read all of Andrew Joseph White's books, but this one, people raved about this one the most. So this one is Hell Followed With Us, and obviously it has a theme: a trans guy, religious trauma, horror, and a lot of tomfuckery going on. So I don't know anything about this. I'm also going to this completely blind. But yeah, that's all the books that I do plan on reading this month. See as how I'm trying a lot. We'll see if I actually do read all of them, to be fair. But anyway, regardless, thank you so much for still being here in my videos, and we'll see how everything goes. And what type of books do you plan on reading? And if you have any good recommendations so far about anything fantasy, maybe even sapphic, polyamorous, for all I care, anything of that nature or that type of like ilk, write in the comment section, please. Thank you. Bye.